And so I thought it would be fun today, on a day that I'm not teaching on Moxie, to just do a free sample class for you so that no matter where you are, you can check out what Butts and Guts class is. So this is a little sample of what we do in Butts and Guts. And if you want more of Butts and Guts or my special class Core and More, then go to moxie.xyz/Carrie and get started over there. Okay. All right. So we're going to do some basic movement to warm up. Now, what I usually do on Moxie is that I have a pop playlist open, and it's about 120 beats per minute. And so if you're watching this as the sample, now's a good time to turn on something fun to listen to, right? Because anytime that you're working out, the music is everything. So about 120 beats per minute, you can find playlists on Spotify, Pandora, whatever you listen to. All right, so I'm just lifting legs, warming up the top of the thigh, but I'm also thinking about posture, alignment, and core. So up through the back top of the head, down through the base of the spine, zip up the lower belly so that we're not going towards the thigh, we're pulling away from it. Okay, and then we'll kick back. So nice and easy, try to point the knee down, because now we're opening the front of the leg and strengthening the back. Shoulder blades down and back, elbow creases toward the front. Nice and easy here. Now, if you notice that your knees don't want to point down, that they pop up like this, that's an issue right here. That's the psoas. And we work a lot on stretching that area because it affects everything. It affects the legs, the core, your posture, all the things. So just notice it. And then we'll just do some circles. So just circle around. Sort of getting open in the pelvis area and the hip all the way around. And last one on each side. And good. So I'm just going to shake it out for a second. We're going to go into basic squats, not holding any weights right now because we're working on form first. When you go into a regular Butts and Guts class, you'll probably start lifting weights right away, but today is a good day to practice a good basic squat. All right. So alignment is everything. Head to hip, lengthen the lower back, draw the belly up and in, and you bend from the knee and the hip. So down and up. All right, a few things to think about with this basic squat. Sometimes, especially on the female body, the knees will want to cave inward. Why? Well, because hips are wider than knees, right? And so if you take a little bit of a wide stance and then try to imagine that you're pressing the knees outward just a little bit, it'll relieve that pressure on the knees, because once they start folding in, it will really affect the knee joint itself as well as the hips. All right, now notice I'm not collapsing in my chest, but I'm also not trying to keep my chest up. Instead, I'm just trying to keep this line right here. That line doesn't change. I'm not going to drop my lower back. I'm not going to round my lower back. I'm just going to sit and stand. If you're really brand new to squats, you can also literally practice sitting and standing in a chair. And that helps strengthen those leg muscles. Now, the leg muscles are the longest muscles in the body. So as soon as you start working them, guess what it also does? Cardiovascular, right? Because we have to get blood to those longer muscles. So it will possibly elevate your heart rate just a little bit, which is good for you too. Here's 3, here's 2, here's 1. Shake it out for a second. And we're going to go into a deadlift, and I am going to lift weights here. So if you're ready to, grab some of your weights. I'm going to put a 15-pound weight in each hand. So it's up to you what you want to use today. But when you're grabbing your weights, don't drop into your lower back. Keep it nice and long, pulling the belly up and in. Start with those weights in front of your thighs, shoulders down and back, hinge from the hips. Now notice at the bottom of the exercise that the shoulders stay back, like you're putting your shoulder blades in your pocket, and you don't change that line from head to hips. This is strengthening hips and hamstrings. I have a soft bend in the knee, but it's not about the knee bend, it's about the hip hinge, right? Pulling the navel up and away from the thighs. Nice and strong in the hips, so you get like length right here and strength right here. Both are important. But don't try to drop your weights on the ground, because you'll end up going into your lower back. That's not the point. The point is stronger hips, right? Nice and strong. If you start to feel it in your lower back, stop and realign yourself, or put the weights down and just practice keeping that line from head to hips and getting that motion going without losing that alignment, without losing the core connection, without losing strength in the hips. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Okay, time to set the weights down. So same idea, when you set the weights down, alignment on your back, hips nice and strong. We're gonna kneel down on the mat, and if this is uncomfortable for your knees, fold your mat up, because I'm gonna have my knees down on the mat. You can fold something and stick it under your knees if that is uncomfortable, or go back to standing and practicing squats here, because this is basically like a squat, but a large range of motion and control here, so that we're really focused on length and strength. This line stays the same, it's just a lift and a lower. So we're going to be working through this motion in a couple of different ways, but I want you to try to think about pressing your inner thighs towards each other while keeping that length in the spine and length in the back of the legs. It's just a lift and a lower. Now we're just going to add the lever of the arms out. No big deal, right? Pressing hips forward, but keeping the belly button lifting up and in. It's very similar to the squat, right? But it requires that control and the hinge just from the hip and the knee. 4, 3, 2, and hold it at the top. Okay, put the hands here on the hips. Flatten out the tops of your feet unless that gives you foot cramps. If this is too much for you, go back to the flexed foot. Now the line is from head to knees. That's not going to change. You're not going to dip your lower back. You're not going to press your hips forward or your ribs. Keep this line the same. Arms out for balance and hinge just from the knees. Breathe and exhale. Breathe as you lean back, really scoop that belly up and in. Do not let the belly press forward. Do not allow a dip in the lower back. So that's your range of motion. You should really feel the core connection happen and the strength in the glutes to pick you back up. I like the pause at the back. It makes me think a little bit more about it. Pause, think, scoop the belly up and lift. Now, as you progress this, you're going to add weights. And believe me, if you're doing a big range of motion, it should challenge you, okay? But don't go past that boundary of the alignment and the core engagement all the way through the exercise. Never compromise that. Breathe and exhale. And breathe and exhale. How are we doing? Keep the hips nice and strong back there. And lift. Let's do 2 more. Breathe and lift. And breathe and lift. Hands go down and knees are going to go right underneath the hips. Check your hand position. Goes right under your armpits. Knees go right underneath the hips. And somebody is sitting on your lower back and you don't want to drop them. So lift that lower back and tuck the tailbone until you feel the front body start to pull up and towards your heart. So zip up that front body. That does not change. All right, got that? Now we're just going to lift and lower one leg. Keep the 90-degree angle here. I'm starting with my right. I'm going to lift and lower. Here's the thing. If you lift that leg too high, it's no longer a glute exercise. It goes into the lower back and it doesn't help the lower back. And it also loses that level of core engagement. So it is not about height. It is about your range of motion. And it's about keeping the strength in the hip and keeping that zipped up feeling in the front body and the core and keeping the length in the lower back. Got it? All right, keep going. Keep the solid hands, fingers spread, elbow creases to the front, shoulder blades towards your pockets, and zipping up the front body. Yeah, it absolutely drives me nuts to watch this exercise when it's done incorrectly because it's not effective. We want to be effective and efficient, right? Here's 3. Here's 2. Here's 1. We set that knee down and press up on the other side. So knee is under the hip, pressing up just to that boundary and not past it. Feeling that little push there at the top. My heel is going toward the ceiling. Trying to keep my back nice and long and straight like somebody's sitting on my lower back, and I don't want to drop them. All of those things matter. And it's almost like you want to also feel the inner thigh coming up and towards the ceiling so that you don't forget about that as well. That inner thigh is so valuable. We're going to be working inner thigh here in just a minute, like extra inner thigh, because we love it. Yeah, these are some of my favorites. They just really get into the areas that we're trying to strengthen without wasting time. Here's 4, 3, here's 2, and here's 1. Okay, now we're going to sideline. So come on down to your side, lay all the way out. That means head is on your bicep, shoulders in line with each other, hips in line with each other, knees in line with each other. Side body is scooping and lifting out of the floor. Lengthen the lower back until you feel the front body engage. So in other words, we're not lounging. This is not going to do anything. What we want is core engagement through the exercise. So we lift, scoop the front body, lengthen the back body, and keep the torso still and strong during the series. Got it? Now lengthen that top leg, make it in line with your hip, and bring it out in front of you. Really scoop that belly away from the thigh, turn the toe down, and then go down and up from there. I love this exercise. Gluteus medius right here, right there. That's where we're targeting. Don't allow your torso to scooch forward and back. That bottom leg is your anchor. Hips are balanced over each other. This hand can be here for balance. Keep the belly scooping up and in and lifting out of the floor. And if you start getting lazy, try to get that leg a little more further out in front of you, which is hard, but that's why we're here, right? 4, 3, 2, 1. Take that same leg, grab your shin bone if it's available to you. Kind of press it open for a second. Now, if your hips are not letting you do this today, anything you got is fine. If you're right here, that's fine, okay? But do your best to get a little extra stretch here and then stretch out that bottom leg. Double check to make sure that you're still in alignment here and here, scooped up here and scooped up here. Flex that bottom foot and then lift and lower from there. Here we are, inner thigh. Good morning, inner thigh. Keep the side belly lifting out of the floor. Keep lengthening the bottom leg. You can be grasping this shin bone here. Adds a little extra core engagement and connection. And you're trying to draw the inner thigh up through the pelvis and into the core so that everything is working together. Tiny movement, big impact. The belly lifting. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hold it at the top, squeeze a little higher, and set it down. Push, up and over, other side. But we do to one side, we do to the other, right? All right, so we start with bent knees, and we come all the way down, and the head is on the bicep. Knees are the same length, hips are over each other, shoulders over each other to lift the side body. Ribs are not poking forward, so pull them so that they're over your hips. Lengthen the back body. All of this is like you're wearing your own personal girdle, okay? Then hand can be here for balance. Lengthen the top leg. Bring it in line with your hip. Bring it in front of you as far as it's willing to go with your flexibility, toes down, and then down and up without rocking and rolling. We're not rocking to the front. We're just doing a little tap down and then a little lift. Doesn't have to go very high because we're just digging into that muscle right there. And so it's most effective if you're only going about to hip height, not higher. It's really not going to be as effective if you're just trying to get height, okay? Just nice and easy right there in that work zone. That's where we want to be. And keep that leg nice and long out in front of you, wherever that is for you today. Push yourself to get it way out there if you can, though. Body's nice and stable. Lifting and lowering. How are we doing? You feel it in my gluteus medius yet? If not, bring it out in front of you a little more. There's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Grab the leg, set the foot down, give yourself a little stretch, a little opening, straighten out that bottom leg. Shoulders are down and back, scoop the belly up and in. Take a breath, and then lower. Lift and lower on that inner thigh. Point the toe forward towards me. Keep the inner thigh nice and strong. It's drawing up and into the belly so that all these muscles work together. This is a nice little chain that makes a big difference. Now, you can also grab that grab that shin bone and just press into it a little bit, and you get a little extra core engagement there. I just love being more efficient and effective with anything I can do. Nice and easy, but not, right? Strong inner thigh really matters with pelvis health, with core health, with leg health, all the things. Tiny muscle, big impact. Hang in there with me. Don't forget to breathe. Here's 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and hold, and come all the way down. Okay, turn onto your belly now. Now on this position, we want to scoop the belly out of the floor. So tuck the tailbone until you feel the belly lift out of the floor and keep it there. So we never want to push the belly into the floor when you're lying on your belly. If this is really uncomfortable to you, go back to quadruped and go back into those leg lifts behind you. If we're working the same muscle group, we're working it differently here. You're going to fold your hands, you're going to put your forehead in your hands, and your shoulder blades pressed down towards your pockets. Remember to keep the navel lifting up and towards your heart all the way through, and then bend your right knee, flex your foot, and then you're going to press your heel towards the ceiling. Press, release, press, release. Now you might not even see me moving. It is so tiny and so important and valuable to not try to dip the lower back to try to get height. That's not what this is about. This is about strengthening the glute. And so you have to do that from a very small range of motion. Now try to keep the inner thigh pulling up and towards the ceiling as well, so that you're not completely just relying on outer thigh, but the inner thigh also. Tiny motion. Strong in the glute. Here's 4, 3, 2, and hold, and all the way down. Bend that left. Same idea. Here we go. Press and lower. Press and lower. Trying to keep the hips and the ribs in line. Nice strong core engagement. Should feel the entire chain down the back body doing work here to support this tiny motion. Are you with me? Hang in there. You're listening to music, right? Otherwise, you're just listening to me jabber on. Music helps. Music helps. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Set it all the way down. Okay, last little bit here. We're going to roll all the way over now onto your back. Shoulder blades are down, head is down, hands up. Okay, so settle into that back. Get the back of the ribs down, which means that if your ribs are up like this, you're going to get them down and flat so that the back of the ribs are touching the floor, and then the lower back is also going to touch the floor, and then solid hips right here on the floor. Okay, so just do this little tiny scoop here. Scoop and set it down. So what I'm trying to do is get the tailbone towards the sky, and I'm trying to scoop the belly up and in. So this is how the glutes, the hamstrings, and the lower core can all work together very efficiently. We don't want to slam the hips up and down. We want to be very definitive about it. And it's like we're lengthening the lower back and getting more length here and getting a nice strong flatness here while we drive that area up and in. Very intentional. Now, as you progress, yes, you can add weight to this exercise. Yes, it's very effective, but get the motion first, because adding weight to something that's not functioning properly is not going to help, right? We want it to function properly first. Here's 4, 3, really scoop up right here. Here's 2, and here's 1. Set it all the way down. All right, one little hip and core exercise to go. Let's bring up the left leg. Push your thigh and your hands into each other until you feel full body connection through the core and everything else. Now keep that core lifting up and in to keep the leg up, and then release the hands. Don't change anything right here. Opposite arm goes up, and we're going away. Breathe and exhale here. Breathe and exhale. Do not rock forward and back. Do not rock side to side, and keep this area really scooped up and in on the inhale and on the exhale. Do not let the belly go. Do not allow any dipping to happen between the back or the ribs and the floor. Your range of motion is what you can control, keeping the entire center of the body solid, engaged, and drawn in. Here's 3, here's 2, and here's 1. Set that side down. Other side, grab behind the thigh, press into it, get that extra core engagement, that extra full body action, and then release it, but keep this in. Opposite hand goes up, and here we go. Breathe. Exhale. Okay, so again, I'm thinking about my shoulder as well. If you know me, that this shoulder has been a struggle for a couple of years. And so if I try to overreach in my shoulder, my actual shoulder blade and the back of my ribs will come off the floor. That's too far. That's not going to be effective. So I'm trying to just get a stretch and then strength. Breathe. Here's 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now, if you know me, you know how to get up off the floor, right? Like this, like that. All right, legs out in front of you. It's time to stretch. You can slow your music down if you want to. Listen to some Zen music if you're feeling it. Toes are pointed up towards the sky. Head is pressed up. Hips are down. Nice and strong. Breathe. And then keep this angle and just lean into it. We're lengthening the back of the legs. Now notice I didn't just collapse down over my legs. It's very intentional. So I'm trying to keep length here. Pull the belly away from the thighs, and I'm lengthening all the way through the back of the legs. Take some breaths here. And then we are going to release the lower back, but it's intentional. Breathe. Now, when you release the lower back, you scoop the belly up and in and lengthen in the front body and the back body, and you don't drop your shoulders. Shoulders stay back and down. Breathe. I've lost quite a bit of flexibility in the back of my legs from doing a lot more cardio lately, and I just know that. Like when I do cardio, I'm really using the back of my legs and my hips, and so I'm getting tighter. I need to go back to doing Pilates and yoga. How about you? I try to incorporate Pilates into all of my butts and guts classes because it's just the most effective thing. It is efficient and effective and amazing. It just takes practice. It's a practice like yoga is a practice. And then come on up, and we're going to go into pigeon stretch. Essential for hips. Pigeon is your friend. So you're going to take one leg in the front. You're going to swing the other leg behind you. Okay. You're going to try to get your hips close to the floor. And then we're going to start to lengthen this back leg. And we're going to shift our hips to be over both legs. Evenly over both legs. Now for me, if I'm trying to get even over both legs, I'm going to start losing that lower back control. So I really need to get lower to keep the lower back long and keep the core engaged. Now I can definitely feel this on the IT band of the front leg, which is that connective tissue between your glute and your hamstrings. And it's like not wanting to let go. It's like, if that's happening to you, breathe into that area. It just needs oxygen and it needs help releasing. And I always tell my clients, like, pigeon is so much your friend that you can do this several times a day. You can put something in front of you to watch or to read. You can stay here as long as you're comfortable staying here. And it's really going to help your hip flexibility. Now we're going to roll out of it. Again, come back to it if you need to. Leg out in front. Swing the other leg behind. Look at that. Man, I need some flexibility practice. Okay, pressing back through this back long leg. Easing over both legs. Both legs. And then I have to come down to my forearms in order to keep the integrity of my spine. If that's not the case for you, then do you, okay? Gaze is going to be between my hands, not drop down to look at my legs. My legs are still there. Even though I worked them just now, they're still there. They didn't leave. So you don't need to look at your legs. Look in between your hands. Breathe into that IT band, that hip area. It might be a little tight. Also, we're stretching out, like I mentioned in the beginning, the psoas right here. That is so important and valuable, and that's why we need to keep length in the lower back and the front of the leg, because the psoas is both, psoas wraps from the front of your thigh to your lower back. And that's why if you have a shortened psoas, it affects everything. Your back, your legs, your pelvis, just, it's so important. All right, stay there as long as you like, but I'm gonna go ahead and sit up and invite you again. I have classes going on, and I've already pre-recorded a ton of classes on Moxie. So if you have a membership to moxie.xyz/Carrie, you can get everything I've recorded. It's in the hundreds by now. And you continue moving forward with every new class that I record. Plus, you're invited to all the new ones as I record them to be live with me. And when you're live with me, you get to chat with me too. Which is super fun. So if you're available during those times, you can pop in, exercise with me, and then at the end, we talk through things and you can ask me questions. I hope that helps you. To me, it's a really valuable resource, especially if you're one of the people that's working on that core stability issue. So these workouts are core stability workouts, but they're also full body, and they're fast and they're functional, so that you can get done and move on with your day. Also remember that if you pay attention to those little cues, the core stability cues, and you use them throughout your day, it's gonna make a big difference. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I will see you on moxie.xyz/Carrie.